What's going on, everyone? It's Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. Woo! Y'all been on my head about this new administration, and so I just pulled together a bunch of resources because I just don't believe in sharing just false information. So I pulled from a bunch of resources and added to my note of some of the changes that government contractors can expect. Now, this is the main argument that I've had with other people who are like in the industry or workers or whatever is that some people are getting the employment part confused with the business part. So, and some people are just like, I don't know what's going on. And so I really want everyone out here who is watching this video to understand that anyone who is teaching about anything, business, government contracting, anything like that, is that we don't know either. Like the only thing we can do is the same thing that everyone else can do and just wait and watch in horror, or we never really know what's going to happen. And so as of today, as of what is today, February 9th, we are just rolling with the punches just like everyone else. I have a business as well, so I'm hyper, vigilant about what is going to change for my company as well. And most of the things from what I'm seeing haven't really affected me personally. Many things are affecting, other people in my family as far as like those who are unemployed and those who, the elderly. All these things are happening and they're sad, and some things are absolutely terrible and crazy, and there's other things where some of us need to be a little bit more aware of, like the treasury situation and tariffs and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's going to affect us, but as of now, when it comes to government contracting, there's not a whole lot of very super specific things that are like, if you are a government contractor, you cannot work with the Veterans Affairs Hospital. Like that type of specification is what I would need for me to stop. So to answer you all's question, no, I'm not going to stop doing government contracting. That's crazy. Like, I'm a rebel by nature, so just that alone will make me say, well, let me just see how this thing goes until the whole thing, burns to the ground. That's how long I'm going to be doing this. And so I encourage everyone who's still interested in doing government contracting, or if you are doing it now, to just continue until you see what happens. Like, there's a lot of things that happen throughout your business lifetime that you have to pivot. We were born before COVID. We had to pivot during COVID, and that was a tragedy. There was a lot of things that were bad, very bad, and a lot of things that were good, very good during COVID. But you still adapt and overcome. So I want to share my note here and show you all some of the things that I have put together to, just, I'm not even gonna say ease your mind, because it may not ease your mind, but at least it's some things that you can kind of be aware of as a business owner. So, I went too far. So basically, the recent changes are plentiful, like I said, and some of the things that we thought were going to change went back to the way that they were, or they're paused for now, or just many things. And so we just have to roll with the punches, and we're taking it day by day, just like everybody else in the United States. So some of the things that have changed that is specific to businesses more so than anything else. We're not talking about personally. We're not talking about your mom and them, your grandmama and them. We're talking about specifically for government contractors. So DEIA restrictions on federal contracts. That's something that has changed. The new Executive Order 14173 prohibits DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility programs and federally funded jobs. The impact is contractors may need to revise hiring and training policies to comply with the new restrictions. State and local contracts. Oh, is that a different thing? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Some states and cities may resist or create their own DEIA requirements. So businesses working at both levels need to navigate different compliance expectations. The CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which I have used many times to report companies. So this was actually new to me. I wasn't really tracking this, but the oversight is halted. The pause in consumer financial protection oversight could lead to changes in compliance expectations for contractors working with financial institutions or providing financial services to the government. So if you're a financial company, this may affect you greatly. And I'll actually say I have, and this is kind of like going to something that's not specific to me, but just a person mentioned to me. A lady that I was connected to through my kids' sports or whatever, older lady, she works for a hospital. And the day that the Medicaid and all the federal programs, the federal assistance programs paused that day, she could not process a lot of people's payments or their Medicaid. She couldn't look up patients, their Medicaid and their insurance that day. And so she was like, what's going on? She told me, like, what was going on with the site? I'm confused. And so it was because of that. So yeah, if you were happen to be using Medicaid that day or, something like that, yeah, you could have felt a huge rift or it could have been a huge issue for that day. But again, there's a lot of things that are not going to specifically affect people today. I might be crying in the next 6 months, like, oh my God, everything is crazy. But again, we can only go one day by day to see what's actually happening. And so there are just so many people that are asking, what should we do? What should we do? Or what next? Or should I even start? I'm scared to start. So again, I'm going to keep continuously saying throughout this video and other videos to not be afraid to go into it, because we just have to see we have to just wait this thing out or make a change. I am personally trying to, implement actual change in the federal government, like specifically. So for veterans and other things, and I won't say them until they're done, but, take action for, instead of us sitting around complaining about things. Personally, I'm a very solution oriented person. So I'm like, what are we doing? What are you talking about? Like, let's take action. That's just me. All right, boom. So that's just something. Those are the things that are really specific right now that are actually like affecting us today. Now, there's a lot of things that are in the that are upcoming that could potentially affect us, or they may not ever make it past. Not see the light of day, we should say. And again, I'm not a super political person, so this is going outside of my norm for you all, okay? So let me go to the next thing. So the next thing, of course, is going to be pricing and supply challenges. Again, I'm in service business. Me personally, not being able to get my Sheen and my Fashion Nova and my Amazon packages is going to be a problem. But nonetheless, as a business owner, I don't really buy a whole lot of stuff online for my business. So pricing and supply chain challenges, reciprocal tariffs on international trade. The impact is businesses that rely on imported materials or foreign suppliers may face higher costs. This could affect pricing for federal contracts, especially in construction, manufacturing, and IT services. Now, also, if you had a business during COVID and you were selling products, I was selling gowns. Lord have mercy, that was a nightmare. And how a lot of the stuff that people bought from China was being held at the border and couldn't get out the border or couldn't get on to the border, the U.S. border. And so that was a nightmare. That was an absolute and utter nightmare. So yeah, if you have to buy a lot of materials and stuff like that, then yeah, of course it's going to be absolutely challenging. And then that price increase affects us all eventually, right? Just like any other recession, so those type of things, we're all like, look, we don't have any money to buy eggs or whatever y'all trying to buy. And then federal contracts, contractors should review pricing structures and adjust bids accordingly to remain competitive. So with that being said, is you might be locked into a contract right now. The same thing happened during COVID. Seriously, like a lot of this stuff is repetitive, but way more massive. But the actions that we have to take as business owners are the same. They're way bigger now, but we still had to make a lot of changes. But with that being said, as far as like adjusting your pricing, you might have a set pricing that makes you competitive and you're able to still put food on the table. But now with the changes in, with tariffs or anything else, you may not be able to renegotiate your contract. And so unfortunately, what's called an equitable adjustment, that's something that you can always ask your contracting officer. And a lot of times they don't allow for that. And so you might just be stuck and held hostage inside of this firm fixed price contract. And then what do you do? And so what I would do is just moving forward, and this may not even be a popular opinion, but I'm not here to be popular. So some things that you are working on now, going after now, you may have to, increase your pricing there in order to make up for something that may come down the line. This is practical advice. Okay, this is not stuff that's up in the clouds to sound cute and all you got to do is get a bank loan and your life will be solved. No, this is like, what can you actually do when none of that other stuff work, right? So you can just increase the pricing on your future contracts, or even if you're doing like vendor stuff right now, you're doing where it's like we have several contracts where we're a preferred vendor, and we get work, sometimes we get 4 things in a week and sometimes we don't get anything for a month, but we always, try to have our price at a percentage, 40%, sometimes 30, 40, 50% or more. That's just for that particular contractor, but that particular agency. But with that being said, you might want to increase your future contracts or your future quotes up more to make up for that contract that you're locked in, that firm fixed price that you're locked into, if the contracting officer is not willing to do an equitable adjustment with you. So that's really, that's something that no one's going to tell you, and you may not get it, but that's why you should increase, your pricing elsewhere. Lower your spending. Stop spending money on Starbucks. I'm never going to stop spending money on Starbucks, by the way. But, cut your spending to where it won't, you can have a little bit, just a teensy bit more cushion. This is all practical stuff that everyone's had to do, okay? So the next thing, where were we at? So the impact I skipped something. Manufacturing, IT. Okay, federal contractors should review pricing structure. That's what I just said. And then local contracts where states and municipalities may reallocate budgets due to increased costs impacting procurement decision. Okay, that's a big one. That is local contract, and that's my sweet spot, y'all. So what they're saying basically is when the pricing goes up, a lot of the contracts are going to be canceled, reduced. They're going to want the bottom basement price. And that's the only thing they can afford at the state level. That's one thing you guys got to realize as well. There's billions of dollars at the federal level, and there's billions of dollars at the state level, depending on what state you're in and depending on what you do. But with that, they still have a budget, and they're like, look, I cannot afford to pay you $1 million a month, period. I can't afford to pay you $10,000 a month. So that may even be worth some sort of conversation. I would say, if you are going after local contracts, and if there's going to be, a lot of changes to your particular state, and that they don't have the budget, some kind of way, there's ways to know what the state budget is, or the county budget is, or the city budget is. They have meetings, like meeting minutes, where they'll show what their budget is for something that's upcoming. So you're like, ooh, it's upcoming, or that they constantly have that service being provided or that product being provided, and you can try to catch the contracting officer or the buyer ahead of time and ask them, hey, what's your budget on this? Because there's a lot of things that's changed around here. So what is your budget for janitorial for these 10 buildings now? It may have been, the previous contract may have been $30,000 per month, but now they only have $20,000 per month. Okay, you might have to be creative yourself. And it was previously a 5-day contract, and now you saying, hey, I can do it for $20,000 per month if we cut it down to 3 days a week. Like, that's something that you can bring that's actually a really great idea. That's off the dome. But like those types of things, to be creative in order to like make the contracting officer also feel like you're trying to help them and you're saving them money. And really 3 days per week, especially, there's people coming back to work, but a lot of people are still not coming back to work. And do you really need cleaning 5 days per week? So those types of things are where you got to be a little bit creative based on the procurement decision. So you can either get ahead of a contract, or you can make that suggestion when there's an opportunity, a solicitation that comes out, like it's already out, and you're like, okay, I can't talk to the contracting officer about their budget, but I will ask, is there any way that we can, adjust this to a different amount of days per week, 3 days per week, whatever the case may be, right? So the next thing would be tax and financial planning adjustments that we would have to make, or that have made a change. So the IRS tax bracket changes. The impact is federal contractors need to reassess financial projections, payroll, and tax strategies to accommodate these changes. Local government contracting, some states and local tax structures may also shift, affecting bottom line profitability. Same thing, right? So things are going to change, so you got to be willing to adjust, right? So we don't know, especially with the states, what those are going to be specifically, because some states are like riding with the federal side, and some states are like, we're not doing that, and we will never do that. And with that being said, also I spoke to a couple of corporate companies. They have not changed their DEI. They had something already in place that's already been funded. Let me come back to the screen for this, because I've been arguing with people, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, DEI is illegal, and there will be no more D. Don't even say D, E, or I in the same sentence." And I'm like, okay, I have to get clarity, because you're saying this out of your mouth, but where does it say specifically that suppliers, government contracting business owners, suppliers cannot do business with corporate agencies through any program, whether it's a small business program, veteran program, even if it's a diversity, some type of diversity program. I talked to 2 companies just this week. Just so happened I talked to them this week and asked them, have there been any changes? They're like, no, we are committed to maintaining our diversity programs. Okay, this is what they're telling me, because I'm like, are you sure? Because I want to make sure that I'm not meeting with you and trying to do work with you, and then tomorrow it's going to change. Now, could it change tomorrow? We don't know. But I just want people to really understand that a lot of these companies, the big corporations, a lot of these huge corporations, yes, they're getting rid of their DEI program, or they're getting rid of their DEI department. Got it. This wasn't in existence. I don't even know when some of these companies developed it. I know a lot of them really amped it up or developed it for the first time during COVID. And I've mentioned this in multiple videos, that Chevron specifically told me that they had a program, they weren't doing anything with it until George Floyd. So when George Floyd happened and the civil unrest and all that stuff that started happening, the diversity, I don't know what his actual title was, but like the diversity director or whatever, said it was the first time he ever talked to the vice president of Chevron. And they were like, hey, you got to get this DI thing together. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, I've been trying to get it together for all these years, and now it's all of a sudden important. So a lot of these companies haven't really changed their stance or changed what they're doing. Now, some will, but some of them weren't even really abiding by it anyway, or they weren't choosing me or weren't choosing you. And so, it's I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that, it is what it is. So what are we going to do? Just try to partner with the companies that are still willing and able to do it, if that's what you want to do when it comes to like corporate companies. Because they'll be like, oh my God, oh Lord, Target. Oh, Target ain't doing DI. Y'all don't even shop at Target. Y'all don't shop at Target. You're not trying to get a job at Target, and your child is not trying to get a job at Target. I'm not saying it don't matter, but Target. No, let me stop. Just joking. Let me just joking. But like, it's not really directly affecting you. Like that Target doesn't want to do DEI anymore. It's just, we're worried about things that are not even truly affecting us, in not everything. I'm just talking about Target right now. And we're all up in arms and whatevs. You know what I mean? So anyway, let me go back to the script. Now, going to what businesses can do. What can businesses do? I don't want to go too far. Nope. Oops. I'm giving y'all the preview. So the main things, of course, is just staying up to date. And all these things that I pull together are from reliable sources. Like, I was going to say CNN. CNN is a reliable source. I mean, at least as far as what's actually happening. Now, if what's actually happening ends up being something different, then whatever. But they report the news pretty swiftly. And, a lot of .org sites, a lot of .gov sites, New York Times, all these different sources, and all these different, things that they suggest. So basically, stay up to date with the FAR and compliance, review supplier and pricing strategies, diversify your contracting portfolio. I want to touch on this because if you're doing only federal or you are only going after federal, and I always preach doing local, then you might want to switch over to local if you have a pretty decent state. And I'm going to talk about which states were impacted probably the most later on in this note. But ensure that you are investigating those states as well and what their ideals are. Now, I would be more afraid of if states are like, we're not doing this. It's like, whoa, that's going to affect the whole state. That's going to affect everything that we do. But these corporate companies, they weren't even giving us a shot anyway, a lot of them. Just saying, I've been doing this. I've really been in the field, in the trenches for years doing this corporate thing. So, it's not like I'm just jumping on the bandwagon. This is something that I've been living every day. Also, engage with procurement officers. Keep an open communication with federal and local contracting officers to anticipate any new compliance shifts. It's very important. Like, hey, what's going to change? What do I need to know before you drop that bomb on me? And they may not know either. Again, like these federal employees are trying to figure out they're going to have a job. So that's another thing that may even happen to you is you might lose your contracting officer. So we have to be so agile right now. This is a real test. I would say people that are asking, should I get into government contracting? If you're not agile, if you're not willing to pivot, no, stay where you at. Stay where you at, because this is real. This is real, and this is for those who have, are able to weather the storm. Okay? So what you should continue, why you should continue government contracting. I want to throw that in there again, because some people are like, oh my God, I need to get out of government contracting. I talked about that a little bit earlier, but it's like, come on, y'all. Like, what? You going to jump ship that quick and do what? There ain't nothing else to do but government contract. That's the only thing to do in life as far as the business. Government contracting, okay? I'm just joking. I'm not telling the truth. But like it's something that I, hold very valuable, doing anything that you're doing and adding the government as your client, because it's just a different path to life. So what should you do? Why should you continue government contracting? Massive spending and growth opportunities. State and local contracts are less effective. You see that? And contracts offer stability. So if you want to say, I'm going to stop doing government contracting and start selling tumblers on Etsy, respectfully, people may not want to buy tumblers because they ain't got no money. They got to buy eggs. So they don't want to buy tumblers anymore. So you're like, I've always wanted to sell tumblers as a living. That may not be the move, because government contracting is still going to be here. It's not going to stop. It's just going to adjust. And we don't know what's as important yet. All right. Moving on. How to adapt to the changes. So stay informed and flexible. I said that multiple times. Monitor sam.gov. SBA, which I talked about that in a different video. The Small Business Administration. They are a federal agency as well. So, and I have a friend who works at the SBA, and so I'm asking him if anything has changed as far as certifications or any of that. He's like, no, nothing's changed as of yet. And again, they may not even know. They're not informed either, because every day we're fighting for our life. So we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. This is a surprise every day. And agency procurement forecast and track new opportunities. So the forecast, to be honest, I wouldn't even look at the forecast. Like, and that's something that I rarely say is don't do something, like as far as to help you progress, because they don't know what they're going to have money for. They don't know what they're going to be able to do. So the forecast is supposed to tell you what that agency is looking to buy, but I wouldn't even do it. I wouldn't even waste my time looking at a forecast. And you got to follow our regulatory changes, of course, the stuff that we talked about. Adjust your pricing and supply chain strategies if tariffs increase costs. Renegotiate with suppliers or explore domestic alternatives. That's big. Even though I don't do any of those, I don't have any products that I sell. Renegotiating with your suppliers. That may be the thing. Like, hey, I really need you to give me percentage off, because we what we're dealing with, or at least a percentage off for this particular contract because I'm locked into this price. Oh, I'll be coming up with some stuff until I can come out of this contract or see if I can do an equitable adjustment with this contract. And then moving forward, I'll make sure I factor in some of these costs that can get us back on track for your regular price supplier. That's what you say to them. And then what was the other thing? So review contract clauses to ensure profitability despite market changes. So same thing. Review all your stuff. If you haven't looked at your contract since 1980, you need to make sure that you're what's going on in there, you can adjust or renegotiate or articulate in case you gotta make some changes. So diversify and strengthen your business strategy. That's always though, but specifically now, if you already been in business for a little while, and even for my company, like, okay, how do we make sure we have something strong in order to fight this before it even comes to us, And that's explore state, local, and subcontracting opportunities if federal contracts shift. That's a huge one. Oh, partner with primes, access larger opportunities while reducing risk. Now, I've talked about before that when I first started, I did not want to be a subcontractor. I'm like, I hold all the cards. I'm a black female veteran. I'm a prime. Until my best friend got $1 million in less than a year. Then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I need to be a sub. And she was a subcontractor. So sometimes it definitely is a better way. It does take some of the stress and pressure off of you. If I could do it again, I probably would have been a subcontractor first. If I could have found the opportunity. I wasn't going to wait for the opportunity in lieu of me pursuing some stuff. But, I probably, if I had the opportunity to be a sub first, I would have definitely done that first. Or at the same time that I was doing my prime contract. We didn't start subbing until recently, like last year. So, just something to think about. You're like, okay, well, maybe I'm a little nervous about doing government contracting right now, which you shouldn't be. But if that's still on your mind, then you might want to explore doing subcontract stuff. And I have multiple videos on how to do subcontracting. So you can check those out. I'll leave a link to one of my recent ones in the description. So another thing is engage with government officials and agencies. The same thing I said before. Make sure you're keeping open communication with them, and then also the free resources like the PTAC and the OSTABUs. So you can ask them what the heck is going on. Like I have an associate that's at HHS, and HHS is going through it right now. So they have ceased everything, like classes, meetups, everything. Like they're at a complete halt. And they actually filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration? Not a lawsuit, but a restraining order. So I was like, ooh, I don't even, they're just going through it. So I don't know exactly what they have stopped for those who are doing a contract with them, but they are definitely making some significant adjustments. All right, there's another one. So I was at partner with primes for larger opportunities. Engage with government officials, agencies. Yeah. So attend industry days and procurement events. So that's always. So continue to do that because those are not going to stop. Most impacted federal agencies. Now, if you've been watching the news, you've heard this already. But for those who don't know, USAID. The action that was taken against them is the administration with significant involvement from Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, executed a rapid dismantling of U.S. aid, leading to thousands of jobs cut and operational shutdowns. The impact is this move has halted numerous international aid projects and created uncertainty about the future of U.S. foreign assistance programs. So yeah, anything to do with helping a lot of foreigners cut. So yeah, sad. It is what it is. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, like I said, I've used that website multiple times to report companies, and a lot of times they went in my favor. So it's a really good service. So it really does help. It forces whoever you're complaining about, it forces them to respond within like 72 hours or something like that he must do it. So, it's always at least made me heard from a company. So with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Action taken was Russell Vought, appointed by President Trump as the head of the CFPB, ordered a halt to all supervision and examination activities of companies overseen by the agency. I'm not even really sure what that means. Halt all supervision and examination activities of companies overseen by the agency. So when they say overseen, I'm not sure what that means. So somebody, if you're in the comments, let me know what that means, because I'm like, are they talking about the companies that are being complained about? I don't really know. But nonetheless, it's halted. And I saw it on social media the other day where if you went on the website, if you needed to go on the website, it said, sorry, you can't go to this website right now, or something like that. I don't know if that was just yesterday or the day before yesterday, but, you know, if you needed to do something with it, you can't do anything with it at this moment, presumably. So the impact is this suspension leaves many consumer-facing financial activities without federal oversight, potentially affecting consumer protection measures. So we ain't protected. We ain't protected right now if you needed to be protected from some sort of predatory practices. Department of Defense. The action taken is the administration announced plans to cut billions from the U.S. defense budget, supporting initiatives to reduce government spending. And the impact is these proposed cuts could lead to reduced defense contracts and impact military readiness. Okay, so I'm on the fence about this because I don't know if I did a video on Instagram about this when it first started happening, but you know, my daughter's in the military. For those who don't know, I'm a retired veteran, and my daughter I feel like she's probably one of the safest people right now, because they're not necessarily cutting military anything, and they got like one of the biggest raises. That wasn't through Trump, of course, but one of the biggest raises in history, or maybe the biggest raises in history. And so it's like, yeah, I don't want to get blinded by that, but it's, you know, some of the spending, me being in a federal government employee as a DOD civilian, Department of Defense civilian twice, 2 separate times, 2 separate jobs, and in the military for 20 years, I will say that there's a lot of wasteful spending. I mean, not to say that, I don't know what they're cutting, so I have no idea what impact it's going to have, and I hope it doesn't affect anything. And this is me, someone who's a veteran and has a child in the military, so it's not like I'm just speaking, you know, from a place where I'm like unaware. I'm totally aware, but I remember my company bought, I don't even remember. It was like, we had like a whole, what's called a Connex like locker full of iPhones we never opened. It isn't like maybe iPhone 4 or something like that. No one ever opened them. We've had like $10 million worth of computers, and so many of them were stolen. So there's a lot of wasteful spending with Department of Defense. That's no lie. Their measures to fix it, I already feel like I probably will not agree with none of it. I will not agree with any of it. But it's just, there is a lot of wasteful spending. So if we're talking about trying to fix spending or wasteful spending, this also happened right after the war was quote unquote ended, where they went in and did like a manpower survey. We had to participate in it as a 2-star command company, and a lot of jobs were cut then. But I'm like, this is not exactly the same. It's way more magnified, but this is very similar to a lot of other times I remember in history. If we're going by these specific details, there's so many other things that we're not going to talk about on this video, but there's a lot of things that were cut. Even when I was going to I got a job as a contractor overseas in Kuwait, and they cut that. Like right as I got the job, I was like, dang. So, you know, those types of things, they kind of happen throughout time. And so, you know, they're saying military readiness, that could be anything. Like that could be, you know, they're not going to buy these new cool shirts, fire retardant shirts for, you know, the mission where they didn't need it anyway. Like we didn't even use them. There's so many things I have in my attic, in my basement that I never used, you know, and that's just me. That's me. I'm not even a person that had a lot of access to supplies. Like if you worked in supply, you probably have a gazillion uniforms anyway, so that's a tangent, but I'm just saying there's a lot of wasteful spending with the government. So states right here, states that are feeling most of the impact according to the sources, Virginia, Their health clinics in Virginia are grappling with disruptions in patient care due to challenges in accessing essential federal funding following executive orders and policies from the administration. Some clinics have been forced to close or lay off. I wonder why they're just saying Virginia on that. I feel like just like the story I gave about the lady who it was halted at the hospital she worked at. I feel like every state is going through that because she was here in Georgia. But West Virginia, similar to Virginia, health clinics in West Virginia are experiencing funding challenges, leading to potential closures and reduced services for patients. California, with the HIV prevention programs, certain clinics in California face termination of federal grants that support HIV prevention, leading to operational challenges and efforts to find alternative funding sources. So they cut a lot of grants. Do I necessarily agree or disagree with that? This is hard. This is challenging when you can see somewhat of what someone crazy is saying. It's like you don't want to side with the crazy, but some of the stuff is it's just aggressive and mean and thoughtless, but it's like some of these things have happened before. It just wasn't by someone very specific. So I say all that to say that, this is a pretty long video. So thank you if you're still here. But basically, we have to just adapt and overcome. And so there's going to be a lot of changes, and you just have to get ahead of what is being presented. So don't give up on government contracting. Don't be afraid to start government contracting. Just do what you need to do. Just, continue with the grind. And, if a company is saying, well, we don't participate in that, then move on to the next company. Target's saying they're not doing any DEI programs. I don't know if Target necessarily is not doing supply diversity programs, because I don't think that falls under DEI, because a lot of the DEI, unless it's a contract to like create a DEI program, because there are a lot of those. There's contracts to create DEI programs. Then they have DEI position jobs in the corporation, and then they have supply diversity. So that may not correlate, because if it's supposed to be illegal, a lot of these companies are still doing supply diversity, and those funds have already been allocated for some of them for years already, and I've been told straight up it's there and it's not being removed. And so, I would implore you. Is that the word? I would encourage you to go out and ask these questions to some of the agencies that you're speaking to, or some of the companies that you're planning to do business with, and just ask them, hey, is there any changes with your company? Because, asking, people on the internet, and asking, those who are not specifically working with that agency, and asking us, is this company going to do this? I mean, I don't know, because if I'm not working with them, or I haven't talked to them, and I don't have any experience with them, I would have to just, reach out to them or research whether or not they're going to be removing any DEI efforts or any supply diversity efforts. So we don't really know. And some companies are keeping quiet because they don't want to be a target, So like I said, the ones that I talked to just last week specifically said that they were going to continue their efforts for supply diversity. And they have very specific programs for building, encouraging companies to do like energy projects and stuff like that. Like and specifically for minorities and women, and they haven't stopped. So I'm just saying, I wanted to share this because, a lot of people were saying that some of the people that are teaching about government contracting are not really expressing what's going on. And I wanted to make sure that I did something, because we don't know, just like most people don't know. We can only just hypothesize and just go and look at some of the things that we are asked about, like going to the SBA website and seeing if it still exists. I'm asking my SBA friend. I'm asking my HHS friend. I'm asking my multiple VA employees and VA contracting officer friends. And really none of that stuff has changed. Like, to be honest, it hasn't changed. And I'm waiting like, okay, what are y'all gonna say that something changed and none of it has changed. So just wanted to share my information about what I know. And if you guys want to add anything, please leave it in the comments. Like, I want to hear that stuff. I want to know what you all know because I may have missed it. I don't really watch the news a lot. And I know that's probably a bad thing to a lot of people, but I just don't get caught up in a lot of emotional media. It just doesn't work well for me. So if there's anything that I know, I need to know, or the rest of the audience needs to know about what's going on that directly affects businesses, small businesses, large businesses, suppliers, corporations, and how they work with small businesses, then please leave it in the comments. I want to know. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until next time, it's your favorite veteran.